Legislative Counsel, Transportation Alliance. We'll hear your testimony for 5 minutes.
Chair Norton, Ranking Member Davis, Chairman DeFazio, and members of the committee. My name is Paul Miller, and I serve as Legislative Counsel to the Transportation Alliance. The Transportation Alliance is the oldest and largest trade organization in the for-hire passenger transportation industry, with members operating over 100,000 vehicles and serving 900 million passengers per year. I applaud this committee and its leadership for holding this important hearing on transportation network companies today. I'm here today because TNCs have been dangerously careless in their approaches to safety when it comes to properly vetting drivers. The number of TNC victims are astounding. According to a story done by CNN in April of 2018, the news outlet was able to verify that 103 Uber drivers had been accused of assault or abuse. We believe the numbers are much, much higher. Between 2013 and 2018, the Transportation Alliance tracked media stories involving 395 sexual assaults at the hands of Uber and Lyft drivers. This is an epidemic and something needs to be done. We've read the Boston Globe's chilling story 2 weeks ago of just some of the numerous women in Boston who have been sexually assaulted by Uber and Lyft drivers. As one survivor said after realizing she had been charged for a Lyft ride given by her violent attacker, quote, "They got paid for me being sexually assaulted. Lyft is profiting from this," end quote. We've seen stories of convicted felons, including murderers and registered sex offenders, who have slipped through the so-called background checks of these companies. We all know the tragedy of Samantha Josephson, which affected even the halls of this great institution. Sammy was a young college student from New Jersey. She was out with friends, decided to go home early. Samantha got into what she believed was her Uber vehicle, only to realize too late that the car she entered was fake. Unfortunately, this is a common occurrence because there are no significant marking requirements for these vehicles. Samantha never made it home because disguising oneself as a fake Uber driver is all too easy today. And who can forget the threat against your own colleague by an Uber driver who tweeted to Senator Roy Blunt, "I can't wait to shoot you in the face one by one." One can only imagine what might have happened had the senator or any elected official been unlucky enough to have been paired with this driver. These incidents can be avoided if TNCs would just adhere to one of the most rigorous but also most basic safety standard, a simple fingerprint. We believe any contractor providing for-hire transportation services paid for in full or in part by the federal government must first be required to pass a fingerprint-based national background check. It's especially important at the moment because, as we speak, the General Services Administration is in the process of putting together a request for proposal which is looking to outsource some of the federal government's transportation needs to TNCs. This must not be allowed to happen unless TNCs fingerprint every driver. TNCs like Uber and Lyft will argue fingerprint background checks are costly. They will argue fingerprint background checks discriminate against some Americans. These are simply myths. In most major cities in the United States, taxi cab drivers are required to pass fingerprint-based criminal background checks conducted by state or local authorities. And for good reason. A recent peer review study by a team of law enforcement experts, One Standard for All, found that name-based background checks are 43 times more likely to have errors than fingerprint background checks. Even the company Uber uses to run name-based checks on its drivers has acknowledged fingerprint background checks are more secure because fingerprinting helps us uncover criminal history not discovered through traditional methods, offers extra protection to aid in meeting industry guidelines, and helps prevent fraud. And most notably, in filings to the Security and Exchange Commission prior to its stock market debut this year, Uber itself acknowledged that its third-party background check process, quote, "may fail to conduct such background checks adequately or disclose information that could be relevant to a determination of eligibility," end quote. It's time for action, and that action starts by requiring fingerprint background checks for anyone driving on a federally funded contract. Thank you for the opportunity today, and I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Ms.